Morning, everybody. How we doing? Sam here, United People's TV. It's the start of a new week. How was your weekend? I had a decent enough weekend, I suppose. United weren't there to either make the weekend or ruin it, I suppose. What did you get up to? You let me know in the comments below. We're here to talk about, spoiler alert, the takeover of Manchester United, the minority, however you want to call it. If you want to be glass half full, glass half empty sort of person, you do you. I'm going to run through the latest, all the details that are emerging over this takeover. Now, quite a few of these details emerged on Friday. We didn't do a live show on Saturday or Sunday. So I'm going to run through these because this is giving us more actual detail on what this takeover means. How much control will Jim Ratcliffe actually have? We're getting to understand that actual structure a bit more. And I'm going to run through and try my best because, yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, it's exhausting. It's what, 2 days now? In 2 days' time, it will be the 1 year anniversary of that statement being released. So don't be surprised if the announcement actually comes exactly 1 year on, like they had this planned all along. But who's here from the member gang? Let's have a look. We've got Chris, good morning to you. We've got Robert Taylor, Spence 92, Daisy and Fizz, good morning to you. Kenny and Jonathan, Saeed tuning in, Poz, Andrew, T, I can see you there, and Josh as always. How you doing, lads? Gaminda, Nick, and Lyndon, who's on Facebook. We've got Josie, Rob, good morning to both of you. We've got Edward Jones, Matt Frost, Har, we've got Lisa Jensen, we've got Carlos, Philip, and we've got Darren. Good morning to all of you. And look at that, kicking off a week. Shanks and Bigfoot. Shanks and Bigfoot? Is it Shanks and Bigfoot? I think it is. Anyway, gifting one membership. Thank you very much, dude. There is so much. There's always so much to cover on the Monday show. There's plenty of talking points from over the weekend that we'll brush over. And then I want to focus. The main point of today's show is around this takeover and about the percentage structure and how much control and how many shares Jim Ratcliffe is going to own. Because I've tried to do some detail. Oh, it's Monday. Hoods up, people, it's Monday. Look, congratulations and commiserations, both at the same time, to Man United's women's team. First Women's Super League game at Old Trafford, I believe. Was it 44,000 United fans packed into Old Trafford, which is obviously a record for a Women's Super League game for United at Old Trafford because it's the first time it was there. But United just were not at the races in any way, shape or form. 3-1 defeat. It wasn't a very good performance at all, even when City went down to 10 men. Unlucky. But congratulations to the fact that the women's game is continuing to grow like that. But commiserations as to, it was a pretty poor performance. Yeah, but fingers crossed. I think that's the first loss this season overall, isn't it? I think so anyway. And obviously they're out of the Champions League as well after that loss to PSG, which is a real shame. Someone down there in the comments mentioning Griezmann as well. I was like, I had to sit here and just go like, really? Really? Really, you wanting to have these conversations. Griezmann. It's like there's a reason why there is a reason why United is the go-to team for any media organization to mention. Yeah, because so many United fans just lap it up. Griezmann. I literally just have to sit and just go, right, okay, okie dokie. You do you. But anyway, I'll speak about Griezmann a little bit later in the show. But first things first, let's have a quick roundup of the international break. Bruno Fernandes doing Bruno Fernandes things yesterday, scored an absolute cracker. Was it against Arsenal? I think it was against Arsenal. Edge of the box, fired it into the other corner. How many goals he scored for Portugal? I think Portugal have won all 10 of their games of the European qualifiers so far. But yeah, Bruno's just... I love Bruno. I know he's frustrating. Who cares? Love Bruno. There's some good news in the international break. And Jordan saying, Sam, chill. Nah, I think I've come with some energy this morning. I don't know what it is. It's the international break. It's the lull. Not that things are annoying me. Just I'm calling them out a little bit more. Anyway, this would be the most unsurprising news of the weekend. I'm laughing because it really is just like, if you can't laugh at this, then I don't really know. But Andre Onana got injured playing for Cameroon. It was like an impact injury. I think it was a shoulder injury. Oh, it says it right there, actually. Yeah, it's a shoulder injury. Fabrizio Romano is saying that Andre Onana is set to be fit to play Everton. But, I mean, we don't know. You may well see Bayindir make his debut for Manchester United against Everton on Sunday. Bayindir, who played, I believe this was Germany against Turkey. I think Turkey actually won 3-2. Of course, we have no idea. We have no idea how good Bayindir is. Truth be told, I hope that Man United's transfer department profiled Bayindir correctly and that he will have the same sort of characteristics as Onana. But if we're being truth be told, I said that Onana was going to be a transformative signing because his strengths, and which we all saw in the Champions League final against City, but his strengths as a goalkeeper gave us the opportunity to develop massively as a team, but we're just not playing out from the back with the ball in any way, shape, or form. So we're not actually using like any of Onana's real strengths yet at Manchester United. And he himself has made quite a few high-profile individual errors that aren't really to do with anything apart from him with poor concentration and just not being good enough. He'll come good. I know he'll come good. Well, let's see what you're saying in the comments about Bayindir and about Onana, really. Bayindir should start against Everton, says Gamindir. Chris saying waste of time buying him. We've had games we could have used him, but if he comes in now in a crucial part of the season, it's a gamble. I think the game, who was it? I think the game that I was surprised the most about Bayindir was Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. You know, when we beat them 3-0. And then we lost to them a couple of days later in the Premier League. I was surprised he didn't get used then. And good. Isn't it just like peak Manchester United? It is peak Man United that our trip to Goodison Park is the first game for Everton after they received a 10-point reduction from the Premier League. I'm going to be speaking about this in a little bit more detail in a few minutes or so, but it feels like peak United. Talk about unlucky in that sense. A super chat there from Pro Stories. What are you saying? How can people talk about Griezmann from a media who says nothing when Guardiola is criticised in training, but Pep is backed by Pep, but Ten Hag? Oh yeah, what was it? He criticised Guardiola's quality. Is it quality in training? Guardiola was saying something about Guardiola in training. I don't know. But man, United sells. Especially, nothing sells more as far as the papers are concerned. Nothing sells more than United doing badly, which is why they have loved it and why they will do everything to keep pinning us down, keep our head underwater. That's what the media are going to be doing. Anthony saying, good morning. Watching the Scotland match last night tells me McTominay should be taking... McTominay taking corners is about the same as Phil Jones putting his hands in the air. Do you remember that? Is that way at QPR? That photo. Who's up for it? Ah, man. That's going to be like a pub quiz question at some point. But going back to this, right? Okay, going back to this. And the injuries. The constant injuries. And it's a bit of a joke. I think we've all been having conversations around, well, we all know full well how much injuries have increased this year. And it's not just a United problem, okay? We've had problems with injuries, not just because of Erik Ten Hag. They existed under Rangnick. They've existed before. And it is a Premier League-wide problem. Look at that. This season, there has been a 96% increase so far in hamstring-related injuries compared to presumably the same period last season in the Premier League. 55% increase compared to the last 4 seasons. Hamstrings, muscular injuries. Muscular injuries come, like Mickey van der Ven when he pulled up, when he was chasing the ball. Is it against Chelsea? Pulled up, holding his hamstring. these players are getting overworked. And and then this season, for example, you see, right, okay. So what do you mean, right? So we can't squeeze any more games in. Ah, hear me out. I've got a cracking idea. How about we just make the games longer? Yeah, yeah. Come on in. Let's just get I don't know, let's increase stoppage time from like a max of 5 minutes. Let's do like 15 minutes sometimes. Ooh, why not? If they can't get more games in, they'll make those games longer. And you wonder why players are just crumbling. This is the table list for the total number of injuries in the Premier League this season. Spoiler alert, Man United are top of the list, right next to Newcastle. And the Newcastle one, again, it will come as absolutely no surprise. There was a couple of stats in here which, seeing Newcastle struggle with the amount of injuries that they've had this year, was something that could have and probably was predicted by a lot of people. And the same thing goes to Manchester United as well, because of how we played last season. Look at this here. Where is it? Newcastle were the only team across Europe's top 5 leagues where 9 of their outfield players were able to play a minimum of 75% of their domestic league minutes last season, which is unheard of. And that is why Newcastle, right now, because of how much they played last season and how much they didn't rotate, they're now struggling. And United last season under Erik ten Hag, we hardly rotated because it was his first season in. He had a few players that he trusted. The squad, what was it? Was it Sociedad? There was a game when he made like big changes and it was like, wow, I'm not doing that again. Wow, not doing that again. Let me read a few of your comments out down here. But injuries. Top of the wrong list, says Cheesy Chips. At least we're top of some league, right? Spence, what are you saying? Just waiting for them to sack Dyche before the weekend today. That added Everton aren't going down, man. Right? We'll move on to this talking point now, because this has obviously been a huge talking point over the weekend. I didn't go live at the weekend. I was considering going live on Saturday. No, actually, I couldn't do it on Saturday morning. Sunday, I was thinking about it. Yesterday, I wanted to do a video on the organizational structure of United, but I've saved that video for today now. I think I'll do it today. Everton being docked 10 points feels harsh, but in retrospect, there hasn't been enough punishment for any sort of financial breaches up to this point. And I think, unfortunately for Everton, I just think they're the guinea pig. They're going to be the first club that receives this, and they should not be the last, because, you know, I don't actually see, honestly, I do not see how anything but relegation for Man City is a fair punishment if Everton can get a 10-point reduction, 10-point deduction for, I think, what was it, one breach? It wasn't like they were Man City just flouting the rules, getting sponsored by businesses that were owned by your owners, inflating their numbers and just getting caught, just straight up cheating. Everton just outspent their means, and their owners sort of ran away with it, ran away from it as well. City and Chelsea have to get examples made of them. Look, you can talk to me about rivalry with City and Liverpool and Arsenal. It's like, yeah, Liverpool by some margin are the team I hate the most, but I hate them because of footballing reasons. Well, actually, there's more to that. Obviously, there's far more to the rivalry of Liverpool and Manchester United than simply football, and that's what makes it so entrenched. It's about the cities, about the industries, about the geographies, about everything that comes with a derby. with a rivalry rather than a derby. But the main reason I hate Liverpool is because they were really good and they were crap, and now we're really good, and it's footballing rivalry. The reason I hate City is because they were a load of tosh. They were crap on the bottom of your shoe, getting pumped 8-1 by Middlesbrough, until a sheikh came in and said, yeah, I fancy having a new plaything, actually. Chelsea. Totally irrelevant when it came to challenging for top honours in England, until a former oligarch from Russia who pillaged state assets and got them at a cheap price and was now full of money and couldn't spend it in his country, needed a plaything. Hello. Hi, Chelsea. How you doing? Don't really care about profit. I'll keep plunging it all in. What Hazard's agent? Yeah, give him 7 mil. Doesn't really matter. What do you mean it's not above I don't care if it's legal or not. I'm going to do it anyway. Both of these two clubs are the reason our league right now, I'm not saying solely the reason our league right now is it's just gone to crap. It has gone to crap because of these two. City should just get wiped. I mean, they won't. And this is the thing. And this is why Everton fans are going to rightly be so frustrated. Because Everton have got a 10-point deduction. And Man City are sitting there with 115 different charges from the Premier League itself. And nothing has happened. And will anything happen? Because when it comes to capitalism, big business, when you're at the top and you've got all the power, even if you flog the rules brazenly, really, what can be done about it? Who knows? I honestly, I can't see how anything apart from relegation and title stripped is a fair reflection of what City have done to this league. And in my opinion, the same thing applies to Chelsea. I hate both of those clubs. I'm telling you, I think I've said this before. If there was one club that I could just abort, just Control-Alt-Delete one club, it would be Chelsea. That's how much I hate what they've done, because they were the ones who opened that door in the first place. Hey, look, maybe that door was maybe that door would have inevitably been opened anyway by someone else. But it was them who started it. They are the root. While the Premier League takes such a step, knowing the backlash that will come from the City charges, this is the thing. The Premier League has allowed this, has created this. I don't know whether they're going to have the cojones to actually then at this point go, oh, you know what? Well, actually, at this point, we've decided you're actually breaking the rules. I mean, they have decided that. They've charged them with 115 different charges over their product, the Premier League. It's been proven you can just buy it. Doesn't matter about FFP rules. Just find ways around it. Doesn't matter. Legal? Doesn't matter. Just do it anyway. What's going to happen? Show me somebody who's got any sort of bad. This is probably what they say to themselves. Oh, we shouldn't be doing that. That's illegal. It goes, okay, well, what is the worst punishment that has happened to anybody that's broken a rule in the Premier League? Up until this, nobody had ever been deducted points in the Premier League for breaching financial fair play rules. Hate these clubs. Properly hate these clubs. And I just do not see how anything apart from relegation and title stripped is a fair reflection of what they've done. But I don't particularly think the Premier League will do it. And that is why I think Everton fans have every single right to be massively frustrated. And Everton are sort of facing a lot worse now because that point deduction has happened. I think there's now precedent. I think they'll find out in the next month or so. There's now precedent for other clubs who were relegated as a consequence of Everton being above them. You know, when I think Sheffield United, they successfully got around about 20 mil from West Ham for the Carlos Tevez. So, when Carlos Tevez scored the winner at Old Trafford, West Ham stayed up, Sheffield United went down. They got 20 mil for that. So there's going to be a few clubs now who can come towards Everton. I think Burnley got relegated, Sheffield United maybe as well. I don't know. They can all come then and say, right, well, you owe us money for this. And it might open the door to, well, it might reach the point. I don't know whether it will. It might reach the point that Everton then owe so much money to other clubs through rulings that their owners can't afford it. And then what happens? Administration? A further points deduction? It's not good for Everton. But as far as we're concerned, it's not good for us for Sunday, because Goodison Park will be... Goodison Park's always quite a hostile ground, I'll be honest. Our record there over the last... Man, our record there over the last 10 years overall must be pretty awful. Last year was when... Was that the Casemiro performance? Ronaldo? Was it that game? Did we win that game? I think we might have won. I'm pretty sure that was the first game I was like, oh, Casemiro, great. I'm gonna read a few of your questions out down here around City, around this point deduction. Do you think the Premier League's worried about the independent football regulator? Well, they have to be. I mean, the fact that we need an independent football regulator is indicative of the fact that you can't regulate it yourself. So someone else is going to have to come and do it for you from a government perspective. That's how sort of out of control. Rajan, let's be honest, City and Chelsea have caused the transfer market to be crazy. It's in them, it's PSG, a huge part of it as well. And it's everything I despise about modern football. That we can't just talk about the footy anymore. There's so much more to it that's just crap. That's just a waste of my time. It won 2-1 apparently for that. Someone says we've got a great record at Everton. I swear the last time. Let's try and find here. Man United versus Everton at Goodison Park. History. I swear we've not got the best in the last 5 years. 5-10 years, don't I? So look. Right. Here we go. So let's pull this up. And then after this little talking point, we're going to move on. We're going to speak about the takeover because, as I said, there's more details that we can now learn. Right. So, I don't know what order they got us in. 2-0 on April. There's so many games, I can't remember them. Everton beating us in the Premier League there 1-0. Is that right? Who's won? Oh, I'm confused. I'm really confused. Sorry, I can't be bothered to look at that. That's too many numbers in too many different places. My head can't get around it. It's Monday morning. Speaking of which, this is going to be an interesting part, okay? Because the takeover, the Ratcliffe takeover, the Ratcliffe investment, I don't care. Call it what you want. Ratcliffe buying some part of United. This information came out on Friday. Pricing the takeover at $33 a share. And that's interesting. And I'm going to go into a bit more details here because these are the two major details that came out. The $33 per share, and also down here, this. Ineos will be acquiring 25% of both the listed A shares and the B shares from the Glazers. Because last week, stories were emerging that the 25% was going to be 12.5% from the Glazers and 12.5% from the New York Stock Exchange. And loads of people lost they were angry. They were like, oh, what do you mean? It was starting off at 100% and now it's gone down to 60%, but now it's gone down to 12.5%. Oh, what a joke. I'll get him out. Oh, I can't believe we didn't get Qatari owners in. Just sitting there down there. Jordan saying, I'm still pissed we didn't get Qatari owners. Dude, I think you all know full well how quite a large majority of me was opposed to Qatari owners. And if you can't understand that one, you can't understand why I hate City and Chelsea so much. That exact same hatred for City and Chelsea was why fundamentally part of me just could not and would not ever have agreed with a Qatari takeover. Now, that's my opinion on it, and we don't need to speak about that anymore. But anyway, this here, right? Try not to get too I don't know, too bogged down in the numbers that I'm about to put on screen here. But I think this should. The reason I'm about to do this is because it should help to visualize for yourself what this 25% takeover really will mean to the power structure of our football club. All right. And I'm probably going to do my lunchtime video on this today, or I might do it on the ownership structure. There's so many things that we need to speak about. And this is an important one. All right. Now, let me explain what these numbers all mean. Right. So on the left-hand side here, this is the amount of shares that each Glazer owns, right? Avram, Joel, Kevin, Brian, Darcy, and Edward, right? These are all the B shares on the left-hand side. That's how much they own. Jim Ratcliffe right now, of course, he has 0 B shares. If they sell equally 25% of their shares, this is how many shares they will then have. Avram goes down to 12.4, Joel 21.16, and vice versa. You can do the numbers, right? And by doing that, if Jim Ratcliffe does indeed manage, as is being written here by Sky News, that he is going to be buying 25% of all the B shares, then Jim Ratcliffe in total will have 27.5 million Class B shares. 27.5 million of the important voting shares, which would in total give him just under the total combined for Avram and Joel. Jim Ratcliffe would, by some margin, become the biggest single individual, the biggest individual holder of Class B shares at Manchester United. More than any other Glazer individually, and nearly as many as Avram and Joel combined. And if we go down here, the numbers you can see at the bottom, this is where the numbers are sort of explained. So if he does indeed buy 25% of all the Glazers shares at $33 a share, that would equal $900 million. And if you look at Manchester United on the stock exchange, there's 52 million publicly available shares on the New York Stock Exchange, right? So 25% of that is 13 million. And if you buy 13 million of those at $33, that's 429. Those two combined, roughly $1.3 billion. Roughly what's being suggested as the 25% takeover. So that all the numbers sort of line up. I'm going to go down here and see if you've got any comments on this, but yeah, I'll do that, right? And I'll explain to you what sort of position that leaves Manchester United in the ownership structure. And he's saying, doesn't he have to match his purchase of Class B shares with A shares to avoid the legal challenge? Yep, that's correct. Which is exactly why it's 20. So that's why people were saying it was going to be 12.5% of A's and 12.5% of the Class Bs, but it's wrong. It's 25% of both. So 25% of the Class B is that one, 400 mil, sorry. Which means overall his shares. So remember, these shares here, they might not have anywhere near as much voting rights as Class B shares, but there is voting rights there. So if Jim Ratcliffe was to buy 13 million Class A shares, That gives him the voting power of another 1.3 million Class B shares, which, if you add that to this, now I've done these numbers. I'm not completely confident of these, so I'm not going to tell you them exactly. But if you add up the Class A shares that Jim Ratcliffe's going to own and add it to his Class B shares there, and you get 40 million overall, the amount of control that Avram and Joel Glazer combined is pretty much like exact. And look, this is right here. Can you see how complicated this is? This dual share structure that they've done to somehow funnel money out of the club without losing control is horrendous. But what it does leave, and to simplify things, these numbers, all right? These are the simple numbers. If this does indeed go through in the way I've just explained it there, then this right here is the ownership structure of Manchester United after this takeover. The Glazers will own 51.75% of our club. Jim Ratcliffe will own 25%. And the New York Stock Exchange shares, that's where another 23.25% of the club will be owned. Okay, but we know full well that those shares on the New York Stock Exchange, they might be 23% of the club, but it's not necessarily 23% of the voting rights of the club, which I've just explained there. The Glazers in 2005 owned 100% of our club. Slowly, they sold part of that off. When they went onto the New York Stock Exchange, they sold off a big percentage of the club and got a ton of money. Didn't put any of it into the club, just taking that money for myself. Thank you very much. In my back pocket. And they've done that progressively and reduced their ownership percentages. Now, this will put Jim Ratcliffe as only 25%, which means if Jim Ratcliffe can get, and this is the conversation, the concept around when can Ratcliffe actually have full control. He's only got to get another 25% to get that full control. Ish. Because 25% from the New York Stock Exchange is not 25% of the Class B shares. And I still can't give you a direct answer. I'm so I'm so tired of this takeover talk. Fuck me. Sorry for swearing. My God, man, it has killed me. It has killed me. It is so exhausting talking about this crap. 1% here and 1% there. Class A, no, maybe not. Class B, oh, maybe not. Oh, what about the legal? Oh, what about this? Oh, don't forget about that. It's like, come on. Anyway, this is the simple structure of it. Ratcliffe will be getting 25% of our football club. All right. And the Glazers' ownership is going to be diluted down from 69% to 51.75%. Just a majority. So then the way for Jim Ratcliffe to then get actual full control of our club and to own more than 50% is he's going to have to convince these to sell down their shares again. And he's got to buy more shares from the open New York Stock Exchange. They will have less voting rights. So in theory, Jim Ratcliffe could do that, own 48% of the club, but then still only have, I don't know, 30% of the voting rights. Jonathan is saying he's stuck with them unless he has an agreement in place. Well, this is the thing that I don't know whether we're going to get privy to that information. Pos, you're saying you need to lay down after that. I need to lay down after that. My head hurts. I've tried my hardest throughout this entire process to really try and simplify it where possible. Okay. And it has been the most complicated and most convoluted takeover. Surely, I'm sure there are other clubs that have had massively complicated and convoluted takeovers, but I've not been privy to those. I haven't been sort of involved in covering them. It's just like the announcement should be getting finally done this week. And the reason I brought these numbers to you this morning is because me visualizing that and going, now hold on here. I said Ratcliffe's actually going to own as many Class B shares as Avram and Joel combined. That's a real start. Is it the full takeover that we wanted? No. Does it mean that yeah, just trolls get to you, man. Like, it doesn't matter how much you're able to block it all out. You can't because especially when such a big part of my show that I do here is I interact with you in the comments. I actually genuinely go down there and I genuinely read them. It's exhausting. This takeover stuff. All I want to do is argue about whether we should sign a player or not. All I want to do is argue about the football that's coming at the weekend, and that's it. I don't want to go into the pub and have a conversation about Class B, dual share structure, ownership percentages, and New York stock. No, I don't. No, I do not. What we're saying down here, there's a rumor that the Glazers are wanting to buy another football club. No, they're not going to do that. Ratcliffe can not own B shares. Only Glazers can own B shares. Dude, your information is so utterly, completely wrong. Yes, that was correct, but that clearly is going to change. It's going to be part of this new. It's going to become even more complicated. They're going to add like an appendix that add a little what's it called? An appendix? Is that when you add something onto a legal document? Sod knows. They're going to add a little addition on the end saying, "Oh yeah, we can actually sell Class B shares to somebody else." It's Kieran, you're saying, Sam, you need a pint. I don't know what I need. It's Monday morning. If I wish I liked caffeine at this point, I could probably do with a coffee. I don't drink hot drinks. I know. Don't shoot me. I drink cold ones. Nice, ice, crispy cold ones from the. That's what I want. Addendum. There you go. Addendum, amendment, one of the two. You know what I mean? Either way, the takeaway point here that I'm trying to make is that Jim Ratcliffe, when he owns 25% of those shares, he's much bigger than any of those Glazers in importance individually. Of course, when the Glazers just combine as a family, they still retain that control. But in terms of individual influence, Ratcliffe is going to be the same as Avram and Joel in terms of ability to influence a decision. That's the thing I'm trying to sort of explain to you this morning here. Oh, man. It's takeover, dude. Peak Man United. Something that Saviour Sam, I've never seen you this stressed out. Hey, it's Monday morning, man. It's Monday morning. It's the international break. I've got to talk about all these numbers. My head hurts. But in terms of something that's a bit simpler when it comes to this takeover is to do with the actual power structure and individuals coming and going, right? Jean-Claude Blanc, we've spoken about him quite a lot. Richard Arnold, he's already had power taken away from him. Richard Arnold is still employed by Manchester United until the end of the year, but he has no control over any decisions. It's already been passed over to Patrick Stewart. He is the favourite for that chief executive role. And I have covered it in that video that I did. Well, it's almost like a little mini documentary, I suppose. The sort of content that I would love to be doing more of. Factual content presented, telling a story, I suppose. The sort of content that I think there needs to be more of in the United space. Jean-Claude Blanc, he absolutely looks like he's going to be our new CEO. And out of all the people linked with us in terms of structure and ownership and all that jazz, He really is the best in class. I've said that a few times, and that's not just me exaggerating, overhyping an individual. No, he really is. From a business perspective, he really, really is. And he knows what to do at major clubs like PSG and Juventus. I'm really, really excited about this, and something that a lot of you are going to be really excited about, which of course, this is going to be the one that I think I've spoken about this before quite a few times. The one that's going to have more of a visual impact as far as we're concerned, because on a day-to-day basis, we won't see a lot of the work that Jean-Claude Blanc does. He'll be to do with overall vision and making sure organizationally behind the scenes that everybody is doing what they should be doing at any one time. But John Murtough leaving, that's something that's going to have more of a direct impact in the short-term transformation of our club, because John Murtough getting booted out and being replaced by an actual genuine sporting director like Paul Mitchell, who is favourite, that's going to make a big difference to how we operate in the transfer market. It's going to make a big difference in all the players that we go after. It should make a big difference in terms of contracts and how that changes at the club and the sorts of players that we're going after, which is why I'm so excited about the idea of Paul Mitchell. And I've spoken about that. I personally think of all the options available. Now, he's not, when it comes to Jean-Claude Blanc, honestly, there isn't really anybody, and I think I've said this before, there really isn't anybody on the same level as Blanc that we could feasibly look at and say, well, that's an alternative. Yeah, I know Jean-Claude Blanc's got his strengths and all that, but what about this person? I don't think there is another one. You could maybe talk about Edwin van der Sar if you wanted to. I mean, Van der Sar could be a conversation, but in terms of, Jean-Claude Blanc, he's a level above Edwin. This man here, there are conceivably other options available. Like Andre Berta, I did my video on Friday. I ran through all of these. Andrea Berta, and I explained all the sort of signings that he's been involved in, what sort of director of football he is. I spoke about Paolo Maldini and Ricky Massara at AC Milan and how they helped that club sort of completely U-turn, move away from signing big players on huge monies. Like, let's actually change our transfer policy. Started signing some younger players at Rafael Leao. They got Tonali as well. And all of a sudden, great. AC Milan win their first Scudetto in just over 10 years. And it all makes sense. So I did that video. If you want to check that out on Friday, you do that. And then I have to genuinely sit here and see that people are doing videos and people are sitting here discussing Antoine Griezmann. And I see so many people lapping it up. And I've just got to say, what are you doing, people? Like, what are you doing? You're better than that. We take 2 minutes to go and see. Right, it's okay. Where's this story coming from? Okay. El Nacional. All the hype is coming from a bit of garbage newspaper out in Spain. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than garbage. And people are just all you need is just take 30 seconds just to think about what signing Griezmann would mean. Right, so 1 second. Let's go into the story then, because it's even more funny when you read the story, actually. Manchester United are willing to triple Antoine Griezmann's wages. Oh, that's nice. To sign the 32-year-old. That's what I feel when I look at this Griezmann story. And I see, and look, this is the issue, right? I did a really, really I've got to be honest. This frustrates me. Really frustrates me because I'm trying my hardest to break out of this mold of what content you should be doing. Because I did this really in-depth video on Blanc. It took about a week and a bit of research, editing, storyboarding, the works. And then there's a video about Antoine Griezmann, how Man United are going to triple his wages, and more of you have watched that. It's not on my channel. More of you watched. More people have watched that. More people have commented on that, and I'm like, this is why it's so hard to sort of break out of it. Break out of that mold of doing genuinely good content that might actually be something that adds something to you. And it's just, I suppose people are just bored of takeover stories. But that one in particular, I have to look at and just go like, don't complain, right? Don't complain about what the media do and what the media say about Manchester United. If you're going to sit there and you are just going to gobble up Griezmann news, right? Don't do it. Because that is pure, unadulterated nonsense. Well, Man United now with new owners, well, not new owners, Man United with a new power structure should be new people in charge of footballing matters. That we're going to go and we're going to bring in a CEO. We're going to go and hopefully bring in a top class director of football. And one of the first things we are going to do is go into the January transfer window and sign 32-year-old Antoine Griezmann and triple his wages from Atletico Madrid. That is an idea. We have solved it, lads. Man United are back. Yet people will just lap it up. And it's just, I suppose that's what football is. It's just a big frustration of mine. Really is a massive, I think that's coming across now, how frustrated I am. Because I wish people didn't just lap it up. Because then that content would sort of die off. And instead, people and journalists and newspapers would actually have to do real content. Worthwhile content. Instead, they just, it's low-hanging fruits. And there's tons of people that just gobble it all up. Moan aside, yeah, it's just, that's pure nonsense. Be funny if we actually signed him in January now. I look an absolute pleb. And you're saying that you can see it happening. The 25 is a small amount. It's the United thing to do. Nah, man, it won't. You can't see it happening because United are literally changing our entire football structure. Let's not give any sort of energy to it, saying there's any sort of logic to it whatsoever, because there is not. There is not any iota of logic to it. Unless you write for a newspaper that's just talking about United. I don't need to do anything research here. Let's ignore the fact that United are completely restructuring how their entire football club is run. And let's just speak about something that they might have done previously. People will like it. Frustrating. Really, really frustrating for me. Another mad, was it? This one came from like, again, this is because I used to run the People's Person as that was my job for like 10 years. 10 years? About 7 years, like the editor on there. And I used to cover I used to have subscriptions to, was it Press Reader? I think it was Press Reader. Used to get all the headlines and the back pages from all the newspapers around Europe, stuff like that. And I used to really keep on top of all the news, where it broke and the stories, and who was reliable and all that jazz. And remember this story, I think this came from like Fitchages, something like that, out in Spain, linking Bruno Fernandes and a £100 million bid from Saudi Arabia. And again, people gobble. I suppose it's because it raises a debate, I suppose, because then there's going to be people saying, if a €100 million bid came in for Bruno Fernandes, would you reject it? Yes or no? And that's why people enjoy it. But Bruno's just said, no, mate. I don't look at rumors, and also don't pay attention to them. Today, it's very easy to spread rumors in the press. I don't know. As a community, I want us to sort of just be as smart as we can be. Because if you want to go and lap it all up and argue arguments that just don't exist over stories that have quite literally been just made up, then I mean you can go where you want, but this isn't really going to be the place for that. Something on a positive note here to end. I feel like I've been moaning for a little bit there, but I think it's that core frustration of mine is putting like a week and a half work into one video, and then you can just do something in 15 minutes, and that one's going to be the one that creates more conversation. Mania stuff. Thank you very much, dude. I'm trying to think of what content I've got planned this week. I'm redone my schedule up there. You can't see the schedule, obviously. I'm going to be doing something on the organizational structure of our football club. What's it going to be looking like? From all the stories that we've been told, all the people that are going to be leaving, X, Y, Z, and how will that change? I think that'll be a really beneficial video for us to do and have a conversation about. But something that I want to finish on is this, right? Now, this is something that came out over the weekend. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. What Manchester United are doing is they've created an alumni program where former academy graduates, I think it's to do with injuries. If they're injured or they need somewhere to go, they're kind of out. They haven't got a club. Then Man United are creating this alumni program where they can come back to the club and they can train together. They can use the facilities, and it's such a good thing. I don't know if Jonathan, you're saying down there about out of work players. It might be that out of work players, players recovering from injuries, stuff like that. This is such an incredible idea. And you can see there on the left-hand side, that right there is Tom Thorpe. Tom Thorpe, who, let me see if I can pull up the old, how about that? That's Tom Thorpe there. Oh, that's a line. Sorry, mate. Give me a circle. This stupid thing. But I'll draw above his head then. That's Tom Thorpe there. Then that's Roshan Williams. Is that Roshan Williams? I think it is. Is that Callum Gribbin? I think that's Callum Gribbin. You're talking about former academy players who have either got injured or they don't have a club. That is player welfare. So Man United are now going to be bringing them back, giving them a place to come, and maybe they can talk about, okay, well, maybe you're not going to make it as a footballer. You can go somewhere else. That right there is an incredible thing for United to do. And that right there sort of kind of reminds you of a little bit of what Manchester United, I suppose, kind of used to be. We always were a club that looked after players. It was that family. I'm sure you've seen the Beckham documentary about him. Yeah, like Man United was a complete family. And that's what always felt so important to our club. And I think this is a really nice idea that will, like Tom Thorpe there, went from FA Youth Cup winning captain in the same team that had Pogba in. And now he went to Macclesfield. He's done his ACL and he's out of club. He doesn't have a club and he can't train anywhere. He's now coming back to Manchester United to train. And it's going to make a huge difference to him mentally. And it's going to make a difference to so many people. And also, that's going to give Manchester United's academy, like if you're a parent of a I don't know, you're a parent of somebody who's 12, 13, 14, and you're thinking about prospects, you're thinking about, look, football's a short career, man. The greatest footballers in the world, they're all done in the game. Well, maybe there's a couple of you that last past the age of 40, but past the age of 40, you're not a footballer anymore. And you've got hopefully 40, 50 years of your life post-football to live. So Manchester United doing this and really showing that not only do Man United care about these academy players who are such brilliantly talented youngsters, but even further down the line, if you do need some help, you can come back to the club as well. We won't forget about you. And that will make, in my opinion, if I was a parent, like that's something that I would think about. It maybe wouldn't be something that the players thought about at the time because they're so excited about just playing football, but parents would think about the long term. It's not always just about what happens at the club, it's after, and that sort of welfare is important. I thought it was a really good idea. And something that I've been trying to get for a while on this channel is I really want to get Nick Cox here on for an interview. Director of Manchester United's academy. He was interviewed on Granada TV actually about that. It seems like he's open to speaking to people a lot more. His DMs on Twitter aren't open, so I can't reach out there. I've already reached out by email. If anybody who's watching has any sort of way in to speak to Nick, please reach out to me. Yeah, slide into my DMs, drop me an email, sam@thepeoplesperson.com, anything. I'd love to bring him on the channel, speak about stuff like that. There's super chat there. I think I missed one from Ray. How you doing, Ray? You're saying, hi, Sam. How you doing? Sorry I can't catch your lives. Let's see what the new structure does. And I see there, Ray. It's been a while since I saw your name. I'm pretty confident that this takeover here, this investment, blah, 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 it's going to make real change at our club. I really do think it is. It is still only the beginning, which I've tried to... I'm getting a headache again looking at them. But it's the beginning. We should be getting the announcement. Honestly, don't be surprised if it's Wednesday, because Wednesday is quite literally exactly 1 year on from when the first statement went out. I'll be here when the announcement happens. I'll be here all week long. If you're here, if you're new, sometimes I moan. Sometimes there's stuff to moan about. Sometimes I'm in chipper moods. I'm a little bit of both here today. I'm a little bit of both. Just some frustrations, I suppose, this morning, rather than me moaning. Hopefully we see City and Chelsea get relegated, though. That would be delightful. I'll be here tomorrow morning and the whole way through the week at 10 a.m. with the live shows. I'll be here at lunchtime today with I think I'll do my video today on the structure of our football club, this new footballing structure, and how has it changed from what our power structure is right now. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. Any other ideas, you let me know in the members only channel in Discord, and I always do listen to your ideas. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you had a cracking weekend. Everton on Sunday. We can start building up to the football probably around Wednesday, Thursday time. Probably going to be dominated by a takeover conversation for the next few days. You can join in or not. It's up to you. Drop a like on the video. I'll see you soon. Take it easy.